Channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltore, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I've been focusing my attention on les filles du roi, and then a couple of years ago, I said, oh, I need to do the filles mariées that came before, and their stories are so amazing because of the fact that they really came to a wilderness. In many respects, they were the beginning, the pioneers of the town. So I always say les filles du roi, founding mothers, les filles mariées, the founding grandmothers. So their influence has been felt for so many years. There was only about 262 of them, but they truly, rocked it. So with that being said, let's get started and look at one of les filles mariées for this episode. I believe we're on 121, but before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. Subscribe. It's really easy. If you haven't done so already, just click on that subscribe link. And then like, which helps each video kind of get some traction. And then we have the notify that helps you stay on top of all the videos that are released. Usually it's about 2, sometimes more per week. And also, from a financial point of view, there's also the new YouTube memberships that I've worked with YouTube to create from 99 cents a month all the way up to $24.99 a month. If you're interested in supporting the channel and the work I do, please have a look at that. There's a link in there. And also on my PayPal, on my website, I have a PayPal button that helps you support the channel, whether it's on a monthly basis or you like to just do a one-time only. And also don't forget this new thing they've got called Super Thanks. It's like a tip. So every once in a while I'll get a tip and it'll be like, oh, somebody really liked this episode, so I really appreciate that as well. It's a little perk in my day. So with that being said, let's get to know our next Fille Marie. Today we're going to be looking at Les Filles Mariées, episode 121, Marie Deligny. Now, she comes to us from a viewer request. I have not seen her in my files, so let's get to know Marie a little bit more. She was born in 1635 in a commune called Jobidon in France. Her parents were Robert Deligny and Marie Tache. Now, this particular commune is located in the Hauts-de-France region, and inside of that region, we have the département that it is found in called Aisne. Now, Gagne dates back to medieval times and was really an important fortified village. You can see the walls right on that upper right picture there, the upper right. The remnants of its 12th century castle, though largely destroyed, still stand as a testament to its past. One of the most remarkable landmarks is the Church of Saint-Remy that you see on the bottom right. It was built in the 12th century as a chapel for the local castle, and it was later expanded in the 16th, featuring such Renaissance-style modifications, and you'll find a 17th century painting of the baptism of Clovis in there as well. Just absolutely beautiful, beautiful church. So Marie would come to New France after her father's death in approximately 1655. That she would select and who would select her. His name, Louis Jobidon, and he was born in 1632 in Chartres, France. His parents were Jacques Jobidon and Michel Vraiment. Now, this particular commune is a fairly large city. It's 170,000 people that live there today. It is found in the Centre Val de Loire, and inside of that, the département is Eure-et-Loire. The church where he would have been baptized, the Church of Saint-Saturin, was ultimately built or started in the 12th century, but ultimately destroyed during the Revolution. And by 1793, nothing remains of it, really. And there's one small altarpiece that can be viewed in one of the other churches. But other than that, the church where he would have been baptized, as so many churches in France, found their end during the Revolution of 1789. And so they were married On November 3rd, 1655, in a private home just outside Quebec City, they became man and wife. They would settle at Neuville, a charming small town just about 30 kilometers west of Quebec City. The first seigneur of Neuville was a man named Jean-François Bourdon de Dombourg. And it is actually named, you'll see the town of Neuville was actually named Dombourg when he was the seigneur. In 1680, the Dombourg seigneurie was acquired by Nicolas Dupont de Neuville. And thereafter it was called Neuville. But sometimes you will still see Dombourg referred to. Now remember that Neuville means new town. So that's kind of a really neat, knowledge to know that this was a fairly new town built along the river, and settlers came there. A lot of filles du roi settled there, more than the usual amount. Let me tell you, you'll find yourself in your history going back and back to Neuville. And we see how charming it is. The church was actually built in 1684, but the parish was established in 1679. And it really is an incredible little town to visit. I stayed there with our RV a couple of years ago, and we literally were right next to the river. It was truly remarkable. And it is a place where time has stood still. Originally, Neuville was a place where there was a lot of farms and mills and that sort of, and there still are a lot of that. The timber industry is very strong there as well. But now it is just kind of a sleepy little town that has just, as I said, time has stood still, and you really need to visit. You'll feel as if you're walking in the footsteps of your ancestors when you go to this town. In 1667, we find Louis and Marie are there with their children, Marie, Marguerite, Louis, Daniel, Gendreau. So they've done well enough that they can afford someone to help them in the house. They have 9 beasts and 16 alphabala, about 13 to 14 acres of land. Not too shabby. They would go on to have 11 children. We have Marie, who married Jacques Posey, and would have 9 children, 6 of whom made it to adulthood. We have Jean, who died at about age 5. Marguerite would marry François Nou and would have 5 children, 3 of whom made it to adulthood. Louis would marry Anne Bouchard and would have 5 children, 3 of whom would make it to adulthood. François would pass away at 35. Catherine would die in infancy. Anne would also die in infancy. Catherine would die at 13 years of age. Anne would marry Samuel Lecomte and have 2 children, both of whom survived, before her own early death at 34. Anne-Marie would marry Barthélemy Voyer and have 3 children, all of whom survived, before her early death at 29. And Catherine would marry Jean Charest and would have 10 children, 7 of whom would survive, 6 who would leave descendants. Louis would pass away sometime before 1677 at around the age of 45. He and Marie would have been married about 22 years. Louis would definitely leave his mark. We can find his biography in the series Our French-Canadian Ancestor, which is, he's in volume number 26 out of 30 volumes. And you can also, if you don't have access to this book, you can also find it online in the Facebook group. If you join the Facebook group, it doesn't cost anything. And you can then download the files or read it. And also sometimes these books are available on eBay, at a local library, that sort of thing. So it's rare. They're not easy to find, but certainly if you go on the Facebook site, you'll be very happy finding your ancestor listed there. Remarried to Julien Allard. He was born in 1631 in Saint-Mathurin, France. His parents were Sébastien Allard and Jeanne Lebon. He is from the area of France known as Pays de la Loire. Inside of that, he is from the département of Vendée. Saint-Mathurin is a small town, about 2,500 people live there now. This is the church where Julien would have been baptized in Saint-Matrin. And this is sort of like the lay of the land, if you will, in the particular area that he was born. So it kind of is on a sea coast. Definitely very, very picturesque, I am certain. Now, they would marry. Let's have a look. Do not have a marriage record between Julien and Marie. We do know that they married sometime in 1677, the same year that her husband would pass away. Remember, she had a great many children, so she needed to have the stability of someone to help her, not only financially, but also, I would think, on a more practical level. And Julien was a widower who had been widowed in France. He did not have any children. Marie and Julien would not have any children together. And the children that are listed in the 1681 census with Julien and Marie, Louis and François Marie Catherine, they have one gun, 24 bêtes and they have 40 arpents valar. So it's not known if this was Julien's land or her land or a combination of the two, but 40 arpents valar is quite a large amount, perhaps 35 acres of land. Marie would pass away on Christmas Eve, 1696, and was buried the next day. She was 61 years old, and she would leave us with a great, great gift of 178 descendants as of 1729. Her second husband would pass away in 1709 and was also buried in Neuville. And so ends the story of Marie Deligny. She left us too young, even 61 back then was fairly young. But she did leave us with 181 descendants, a remarkable feat. She was a pioneer at Neuville, and she carried on and remarried and continued to fight for a life here in New France. So we bless her courage, her endurance, and her ability to make a life. And without her, many of her descendants obviously wouldn't be here. So thank you, Marie, for your endurance, and we bless your memory. I also want to say thank you to my patrons, supporters, and subscribers. You really are a tremendous source of support for me. And every time I'm a little bit overwhelmed with something, I'll get a note or I'll get some sort of, yay, Lisa. And that perks me up and makes me keep going. So I really thank you. And with that being said, let us see you on the next episode of Les Filles Mariées. Until then, au revoir.